Arab Army eliminates terrorists in various governorates. Demonstrations in Turkey against Erdogan's terrorism supporting policy. And Yemeni army faces Saudi aggression. Good afternoon. Syria strongly condemned the resolution taken by the EU to extend the imposed restrictions against Syria for another year, asserting that this decision has revealed that the EU is a partner in the conspiracy against Syria. As some of the EU member states provided all forms of support to the armed terrorist groups, including providing them with weapons and thwarting all initiatives and efforts to resolve the current crisis, as well as targeting the Syrian citizens in their health and livelihood by adopting such unjust restrictions. The source added that the Syrian Arab Republic appeals to all the free voices in the European countries that have publicly expressed their upset at the push led by France and Britain to put an end to such wrong policies that do not comply with the principles and values claimed by the EU. The events in Syria demonstrated that Takfiri terrorism that strikes Syria and the region has no boundaries, and that the approach followed by the European Union poses a serious threat to stability, peace and security, not only in Syria and the region, but also to the EU. The Security Council criticized in its ministerial meeting the fact that member states are not exerting sufficient effort to stop foreign fighters from joining ISIS and their flow into Syria and Iraq. Interior ministers expressed concern that some states are not exerting all effort to keep their citizens from traveling and joining extremist groups. UN Secretary General asserted that more than 25,000 foreign fighters from 100 states have joined ISIS, pointing out that they are between 15 and 35 years old, adding that their number has increased by 70% since mid-2014. 9 citizens were killed and many others injured in a terrorist attack by missiles on Al Jamiliya neighborhood in Aleppo city. Jürgen Stoke, chief of the international police, said that foreign terrorists who are trying to join terrorist organizations like ISIS are using different ways for traveling and following new methods to avoid security check and monitoring. Stoke told the Security Council that a growing number of extremist groups from Africa and South Asia turn to be loyal to ISIS, leading to a greater risk of taking conflicts beyond Syria and Iraq by gaining access to resources that enable them to carry out more complicated attacks overseas. He pointed out that there are new networks that work to help foreign terrorists in reaching their destination, and they try to communicate with convicted criminals to convince them to join terrorist organizations. Syrian Arab Army units targeted the terrorist gatherings in Al-Naima, Atman and Al-Karak in Daraz countryside, killing and injuring many of them. A military source said that a hideout for terrorist leaders was destroyed during their meeting at the so-called headquarters of Sahab, south of Daraz Dam, killing many of them. Meanwhile, a Syrian Arab Army unit destroyed a bulldozer carrying terrorists, killing all inside, east of Abu Huraira Mosque in Dar'a al-Balad. In the northern countryside of Al-Suwaida, Syrian Arab Army units targeted ISIS gatherings in Rajm Dawla village, killing a number of them, injuring others, and destroying many of their vehicles. Yemeni armies supported by the People's Committees achieved victories against Al-Qaeda and the militias of Al-Hadi in Aden and Al-Dali' and thwarted a terrorist attack in Lahaj. A military source said that the army and the public committees have retaken 2 strategic sites and 2 villages in the area of Hajar in Al-Dali' governorate. The army and the public committees also continued purging a number of areas in Taz governorate. Meanwhile, a Yemeni citizen was killed and several others injured in more than 10 air raids by Saudi fighter jets on Ma'rib Dam and the neighboring residential areas and facilities. The Iranian Foreign Ministry condemned the terrorist explosion that targeted a mosque in Saudi Arabia. In condemnation of the terrorism that hit the eastern region of Saudi Arabia for the second week running, thousands of people from Al Dammam city took to the streets after the terrorist explosion in Al Annud Mosque. The demonstrators held Al Saud authorities responsible for the explosions for their failure to provide protection and for supporting extremists and sectarian conflicts in the Arab countries. Recep Erdogan's regime continues its oppressive policies towards the Turkish people by depriving them from their rights. Whereas the Turkish authorities ordered the police and security forces to close several streets that lead to Taksim Square starting from tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, several popular organizations called on the Turkish people to take to the streets, like the popular uprising that was launched from Taksim Square 2 years ago, when they demonstrated against the municipality's decision to cut the trees in Gezi Park and build a commercial center in the area. Welcome back. The Call of Soul is a chorus event presented by Colors Band at the Church of St. Nicholas in Damascus, calling on the whole world to help children live in peace.
The songs presented called for restoring peace for our country and protect children against terrorist acts.
We have chosen 16 songs through which we explain to the whole world how our children are brought up on love and respecting all peoples of the world. We don't bring up our children on violence and killing.
Throughout this music evening, our children are calling on all the world to make children live in peace away from killing and violence. Syria is suffering today, but in spite of all the sadness here, love and peace are trying to prevail everywhere. From Nicholas Church, Damascus, for the Syrian channel, Ranim El-Basha.
With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Rezan, but after a short break.
Good afternoon. Syrian families are so picky with their kids' fashion. That is why they always find what they look for in the Syrian markets. Let's know more about this in the following report.
Syria is famous of the industry of kids' fashion. The Syrian fashion designers are making a real beautiful designs for kids. When you visit any Syrian shop for kids' fashion, you will notice how it's beautiful, especially the dresses of the little girls.
The Syrian kids fashion is famous not only in Syria, it is famous everywhere. As you see, we have many designers for the kids.
Most of the Syrian families concentrate on their kids' fashion, and it's considered one of the main parts of their shopping list. Also, the Syrian kids know exactly how to choose their fashion with the help of their parents. As you see, the Syrian people used to come to the Syrian shops to buy for their kids from the Syrian fashion. For English news, I'm Haj, the Syrian TV.
Erdogan's regime put its hand on Asia Bank, the third most powerful private bank in Turkey and the world's 10th biggest bank. The banking coordinating and monitoring agency were being under pressure by the Erdogan's regime in order to put the bank under the government's control, which was considered by journalists as suicidal and economic terrorism ahead of elections, noting that Asia Bank has about 5,000 employees and 300 branches, in addition to 5.4 million agents, after the Turkish economy is deteriorating due to the bribery and corruption scandals that rocked the Turkish government. Iranian trade balance registered surplus for the second month after maintaining the imports decline pace in May 2015. Furthermore, the Iranian customs announced that the imports reached $6,344 million in the period between April and May 2015, falling 13.8% from last year's level, whereas the non-oil commodities exports dropped 2.66% during the same period. With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.